So we finally signed Paul Pogba. That's completely out of the way now, and it means we can concentrate on all the other transfer activity that's going on with Manchester United, and there is lots to discuss. Before we get into it, make sure you join our Sky Bet Fantasy Football team. The link is in the description, the code is there. Click that, come through. Lots of you have already joined, and it'll be good to get many, many more of you on there. But let's get into all this transfer gossip because, you know, as much as we've signed Pogba, we've signed Mkhitaryan, Bailey, and Ibrahimovic, but there's a lot that still could happen at the club. And the news today is that Sunderland have agreed a fee for United duo Paddy McNair and Donald Love. I'm not sure what the fee is, to be fair. I've seen figures between 5 million and 8 million for the pair. Now, Paddy McNair and Donald Love, obviously two youngsters came through our academy, and there's going to be people instantly saying, this is Mourinho selling the youngsters. Look at it, he's ruining the club already. No. I personally think it's the right decision to let both McNair and Love go. You could probably argue for McNair to stay. I'll get into that in a little bit. But Donald Love, he was always a player who was very consistent with the under-21s, but he never really took to first-team football like Timothy Fosu-Mensah or Cameron Borthwick-Jackson did. He looked a little bit nervous. That's what it looks in the same sort of level as Joe Riley looked nervous when he made his debut last year. Donald Love is the same. And I don't think he had a future at Manchester United in the short term at the very, very least. He was a couple of years development away from being good enough for that first team. And for a player of his age, I think he's 21 now, he wants first team football. And he'll get that at Sunderland under David Moyes. You know, as bad as Moyes was for United, he's a good Premier League manager. And I think it'll be a good move for him. And McNair. Now, Paddy McNair, I always had question marks over why McNair ever made his debut when he did against West Ham. Because it was either going to be Paddy McNair or Tom Thorpe who made their debut at centre-back that day, and Paddy McNair was chosen. Now, Tom Thorpe was the under-21s captain, had been for a long, long time, and his career has since gone downhill. I think he's playing at Rotherham now, whereas Paddy McNair played at Euro 2016, and he was still at United, so people are going to say, well, obviously the right decision was made. I don't think so at the time, but, you know, that's irrelevant, and I don't think that Paddy McNair is good enough for Manchester United either. People compare him to Eric Dyer, but I think even if he has got that Eric Dyer potential, he is years of development away from reaching that potential. And at a club like United right now, especially when we've got Pogba in, Schneiderlin, Herrera, Carrick, Timothy Fosu-Mensah, are all players that I would put ahead of Paddy McNair in midfield. And there's plenty of players I'll put ahead of him at centre-back and right-back as well. So for his own good, as well as United's, it's a good move for all parties involved. Moving on to the next one, we've got Juan Mata. Now, Sky Sports are saying that Juan Mata is expected to stay at Man United this year. Jose Mourinho already came out a couple of weeks ago and said that, you know, there's space for Juan Mata in my squad, and I like him. And question marks were raised after the Leicester game at Community Shield when Juan Mata was subbed on and subbed off. We've done a separate video on that where you've been discussing it. And it sounds like Juan Mata's going to be staying, and I think that's a correct decision because as much as I love Juan Mata as a person, he is a very good footballer too. I would start him at number 10 ahead of Wayne Rooney, as I would with Henrik Mkhitaryan. I think he'd be an excellent person to have in that squad, and when you're competing on all fronts, you need class on the bench as well as in the starting 11. So I'd love to see Juan Mata stay at the club. But I suppose the ultimate decision, there's two ultimate decisions here. One is whether Mourinho wants him or not. The suggestions are that he does. The second one is, does Mata want to stay and play under Mourinho? We don't know that, and we won't know. But let's hope he does, because I do love Juan, and I want to keep him at the club. Now, next up is Marouane Fellaini. The suggestions going around are that Sunderland have lodged an official bid for him and Januzaj. And I've made my feelings very, very clear on Fellaini. I don't think he's a United player. I think when used in the right way, in the correct time, he can be an asset. He can be an inconvenience for the other team. But he's never really a strength for United. And I just don't think we can afford to waste a player on the pitch with that. Maybe I'm being harsh on him. No, he hasn't had the easiest of times. He's a Moyes relic, which never is going to help him at the club, because everyone sees Fellaini, they get flashbacks of Moyes. So he's already onto a loser there. But I think with the players we've got at our disposal, there's much better players we can play at number 10 instead of Fellaini. Much more technical, gifted players who can actually play football rather than being just a bully, which is what Fellaini is. You know, whenever you try and get him in the central midfield partnership and you try and get him playing football, he gets found out very quickly. And I just think he's more of an asset to the other team than he is an asset to United when he plays. And I would like to see him sold. I think he's one of the many players who can be sold this summer, and one player I'll be happy to see leave. Next up, Bastian Schweinsteiger, a player that Mourinho has made abundantly clear that he doesn't really want in his team. He's frozen him out. He said he's not in his plans. And what we're actually going to do is do a separate video entirely on Schweinsteiger and the whole situation, how he's been handled by Mourinho, how he's handled himself at the club, and the situation we find ourselves in. But let me know in the comments below whether you think Schweinsteiger should stay or should go. And as well as all of these players, as I said, there's lots to talk about. We've got Marcus Rojo, Tyler Blackett, James Wilson, Andreas Pereira, Will Keane. These are all players who could either be sold or loaned. I think Rojo should be sold. Pereira loaned. I wouldn't ever sell him, no way. James Wilson, it's a real sad state of affairs what's happened with him. I think a loan spell, a good loan spell, would do him well. Will Keane, I think it's probably time to sell him now because he's had loan spells. He's come back and he's just not going to get in that team. Tyler Blackett should have been sold a couple of years ago. He's going to go. Let me know in the comments below if there's any players I've missed and any players I haven't discussed. But as I said, as busy as United have been in this window so far, there are a few weeks left and there is so much more still to happen. Let me know in the comments below what players you think should be sold and what players you think should be loaned. Give me a list. We'll run through those with you. We'll leave ours in the comments as well. Drop a like on the video as always and subscribe to United People's TV if you're new. And we will see you all very, very soon. Take it easy.